AI generated content is absolutely dominating on TikTok and Instagram right now. Yeti videos, glass cutting ASMR videos, and even Stormtrooper videos are racking up millions of views every single day. Many creators are still shooting in the dark trying to recreate these by hand, but there's actually a systemic way you can break down and reverse engineer how these videos get generated. So today, I'm going to show you how to build a complete automation using n8n, Apify, and Google Gemini that will be able to reverse engineer any viral video that you give it. Just paste in a TikTok video's URL and it will analyze the video and generate a detailed prompt that you can feed into an AI video generator like Veo 3. After that, you can then take that prompt output, make a few tweaks to it, and start building out your own viral AI video series. Make sure that you stay until the very end of this video, as I'm going to show you how to download this entire n8n template completely for free, so you can start reverse engineering and generating viral content today. Let's dive in. All right, let's get started here with a quick demo of this entire n8n automation. What we're going to be doing here is jumping over to TikTok and seeing if we can clone and get a prompt in order to reverse engineer this AI ASMR glass cutting video. In this scene, we have the person cutting a glass apple in this 8-second clip. So this is going to be a perfect use case to generate it with Veo 3. So I'm first going to copy this video URL, come back to our automation, and go ahead and execute our workflow by pasting in that same URL. I'll click submit, and that's going to kick things off. As you can see here, we have the switch node that's going to check and see where the URL is coming from. If it's an Instagram reel, we're going to come up top here into this Instagram reel section. If it's a TikTok, we're going to switch off down below here and do this TikTok specific logic. So we do know it's a TikTok video, so we're going to call into Apify to scrape the details of this video, build out a prompt that's going to analyze this video, download the scraped TikTok video, and then finally encode that into a base64 string that we're then able to pass off into Google Gemini's API. That's what's running right now. It's an API call into Google Gemini where we pass in that encoded video and we're giving a prompt for what kind of video analysis we want to do, and that's coming right from here where we build this TikTok prompt. After that's done, we're going to get our result back, take that file, build a file around that, upload it to Slack so we can see the final resulting prompt that we want to get back here to try and recreate this video. So it looks like we have our last message here, our AI video generator prompt, and we have that file attached. I'm going to go ahead and copy this, come over to Google Flow, and see if we can regenerate it. So I'll be right back as soon as that finishes. All right, so I'm back here inside of Google Flow with the completed results of that video generation prompt that I just pasted in. I prompted it to give us 2 examples, and so let's see how this looks. And then the other option. So at a glance, not bad. Still probably a little bit of cleanup we could do, getting the zoom and the camera angle to match exactly, but I'd say this one is a pretty close representation of what we just set up. The great part around this too is because we're actually getting the prompt to generate this video, we're able to jump into here, sub out different parts like the type of fruit or colors that are appearing, or even tweak with the camera angles. So we can go forward and turn this single prompt into a series of, cutting multiple different types of fruits or other different objects for our AI SMR video series. So that covers it here for the demo. Next up, we'll move into a technical breakdown that goes through every single node and how we built this n8n automation. Just so you know, we're actually going to give away this entire n8n automation template completely for free. All you have to do to get it is click on that very first link in the description of this YouTube video to join our free school community called AI Automation Mastery. Once you're in, go to the YouTube n8n Resources tab, find the name of the post that matches the title of this YouTube video, click into it, and then you're going to be able to download the JSON file for the complete n8n automation template in order to replicate everything that you see in this video. Let's look at the first node here that starts off this automation. What we've set up is a very simple form trigger that takes in a text input that's going to be our URL that we're going to pass through the entire n8n automation. This is going to be a required field that we have specified to be either from Instagram or from TikTok. Let's go ahead and execute this now so we can get some dummy data or some real Instagram data set up here that's going to flow through the full automation. So I'll execute it, pin it, so we can use that Instagram reel URL going forward. The next step here, or the next node we have, is a simple set field node that is going to be responsible for building the base prompt that gets used for the video analysis. This is a pretty bulky prompt that goes through multiple different parts, and so I'll give you the high-level overview. Make sure to download this n8n automation to get access to that full prompt. So the first two things we're doing here are setting up a persona and defining the objective of what this prompt is going to be doing. So I'll read through those here to give you a little bit better idea of what level of detail you need to prompt for when building out something like this. So first, we're defining the persona. You are a digital twin architect, a specialized AI analyst with a dual mastery of scenic video analysis and generative AI video synthesis. Your function is to deconstruct a source video, this is going to be what we provide, into its absolute quantifiable components and then architect a generative manifest, a flawless multi-part prompt designed to compel an AI video model to render a perfect digital replica. You do not interpret, you transcribe reality into data. So we set it up this way because we're really going after a fully cloned video of what is being provided as the source input video. We want to leave up nothing to interpretation. We want an exact replica when we take this resulting prompt and run it through a video generator like VO3. So with that in place, the next part is defining either the mission or what is the objective of this prompt. Your sole objective is to analyze the provided short-form video and produce a generative manifest. This manifest must be so detailed that it leaves no room for creative interpretation by the target AI video model, so Google VO, Sora, etc. The goal is not a similar video, it is a shot-for-shot, motion-for-motion, photon-for-photon digital twin. So really getting hyper-specific here on the replicated video we want to be created here. As a result of this prompt we're generating. So then we move into a couple of different phases where we're going to tell the LLM to actually break down the source video into a number of different layers. So layer one here is, the global aesthetic and physics core. Layer two is going to be the per shot deconstruction, which is going to go scene by scene, define the subject and all details of what is happening within that scene. So we can see like a title of the shot, the duration, what's the framing and camera setup look like, and what is actually going on with the core subject or subjects involved in this video. So we're asking it to get as hyper specific as possible. So again, there's no room for interpretation on that resulting video. So that's going to be the base prompt we're using. The reason we set it up this early in the automation is going to be because we have this switch node set up here where we're going to fork off either to this Instagram flow or to this TikTok flow here. And so we set this up early. That way, either of these sections are still able to access that base layer prompt. Since we pasted in an Instagram video here, I'm going to go ahead and execute this next section, which is going to be responsible for scraping the Instagram reel. So if I jump into this, we can see that our rules match this Instagram.com contains clause. That's true. So we come up here to this next node, which will be responsible for scraping details of that provided Instagram reel URL. So if I pull this up, this is going to be an API request to this platform called Apify. If you're not familiar, Apify is this platform that is super useful for scraping data from virtually any place on the internet. It's built around this concept called actors, which are like mini scrapers or mini API endpoints for very specific use cases. And so if I search Instagram right here, we're going to see there's a bunch of different mini applications, each built and maintained by the community, where we're able to get different data out of Apify. So I'm going to leave it at that. Highly encourage you to explore Apify if you do have a scraping workflow that you're trying to build out. More likely than not, there is going to be something you're just able to use out of the box here to get that data back into n8n for your system. So that's Apify at a high level. Let's go through the next step here to see what we're building out and how we're using it. So what we're going to be doing here is making an HTTP request into Apify, and we're going to be using this URL. Basically, the way that this is set up is going to be calling into the Apify API, where this part of the URL is going to be the ID of the actor that we want to use on the Apify platform. So I can probably actually just copy this, search for here. Instagram API scraper is what we have and what we're using. So we can click try for free. That's going to pull it up into the console, and we're going to be able to see what data can be input here in order to scrape. So since we're taking a URL as input, that's going to be what's built out and passed through the rest of our request into Apify. And so if I come down here to the body, because we're making this post request, we got to provide a body to say what data we want to get back. This is what we're going to do. So we're looking for this array of direct URLs where we pass in a single URL coming from the form trigger input. So we have this reel specified here. We're going to ask for a 1 back for the results limit. So we only want 1 post back or 1 reel back. And it's going to be a post type. So that's it up here. If you don't know what each of those parameter values mean, you can come over to the actor here inside of Apify, hover over the tooltips, and it's going to explain exactly what it does. You can even build out the full request here underneath this manual tab. And then once you're ready to move it to n8n, just go to JSON, copy this, and then paste this here into your n8n expression editor. And so we still want to sub this out, so you could change this to this form trigger input that was provided from before. So pretty easy to get up and running there. That's most of what we need to do to set up using the Apify API. The next part we need to do here, if you haven't set this up before, is configure our authentication here for the Apify API. All you got to do is go to generic credential type under authentication, specify header auth, and then if you don't have a credential already, we're going to go ahead and create a new one. So Apify uses header auth for protecting their API. And so we can call this Apify auth. We're going to specify authorization as the name of the header that we want to pass in. And finally, in order to give our API key to the Apify API, we then need to go to settings under our Apify account, API and integrations. And then we're going to be able to copy in our API key and set that in this credential. So you can save that. I'm not going to save this since I already have one. So you can then save that and specify that here underneath the final header auth. So now we're all set up with Apify, and we're going to be able to make requests here to this actor to scrape data from TikToks or Instagram Reels. And so up the top here, I'm scraping from an Instagram Reel using this Apify Instagram API scraper. And then on the bottom here, I'm scraping from TikTok using this other actor from API Dojo called API Dojo TikTok Scraper. So once again, the setup for this is very similar. We're passing in this start URLs option, which is just the URL of the TikTok video we want to scrape. We want 1 result back. And if we go to JSON, we can go ahead and copy this and then paste that here into the body of the request we're trying to make for the TikTok scraping operation. So pretty easy to set up. And after that runs, we're able to see all of this data that comes back for the TikTok that we just scraped. So we got our image, our caption, the hashtags used, the URL of the Instagram Reel. All right, I'm back here at the next step, which is going to be building out to the final Instagram Reel prompt. This is, again, another set field node where we take in the value of that base prompt we were going through earlier and adding some additional metadata like the caption of the video and the hashtags we scraped from our API call that was made into Apify. This is just useful and something I like to do to give the LLM or AI model we're using just more context about what the video is. So more context, in my opinion, is usually always going to be better. So with that done, the next step is going to be another HTTP request node that we make to the Instagram Reel URL video that was extracted. So it's under the result of scrape Instagram Reel, item JSON video URL that is going to give us this downloaded URL, the downloaded video of the Instagram Reel we just scraped. And so we can see this loaded up here. And now n8n has access to this full video here of us chopping up this glass apple. We need this actually in n8n so we can proceed to the next part. That is going to be the two nodes here where we encode this video as a base 64 string and then pass that off into Google Gemini's API. That's going to allow us to analyze this video and spit back out the final prompt we need that reverse engineers that provided Apple video. And so opening this up, we have a simple built-in node call here where we're going to move a file that's passed in to a base 64 string, basically converting this MP4 file here into this output text data. And that is going to be set in this data field that we're going to be able to use later on this next node. This, like I mentioned before, is going to be an HTTP request where we're calling into Google's Gemini AI API, and that is going to pass in the data of the encoded video that we just built out, as well as that final prompt we built out that is going to ask Gemini's AI to write us a prompt that will reverse engineer this video for us. So let's look back here at the API request we're making to see what is actually going on. The first thing we have set up here is going to be a post request to this API endpoint that Google has built out and defined for us. So it's to their generative language.googleapis.com, to the V1 models, the Gemini 2.5 Pro model, and we're going to generate content. This is all defined here underneath Google's AI documentation. And so on ai.google.dev, you can look under the Gemini API and go down to this video understanding section to see how we can pass video data into Google's API, get analysis back, or any other details. There's a couple of different ways you can interact with this, but since we're analyzing short form videos like TikToks and Instagram Reels, I opted to go forward with passing video data in line. And so the way that I did this was from first encoding that as a base 64 string that we did earlier on the n8n workflow and setting up our request to construct it this way so Google's API knows that that video data is going to be provided. If you go up here, there's also another approach you can take where you upload a video file, but there's a bit more complexity here where you have to make, it looks like, 3 separate API calls into the Gemini API in order to get those results back. So unless you're needing to analyze a really long video, I would recommend going forward with passing this video data in line because you only need these 2 nodes to convert it to a base 64 string and then make a single HTTP request to get that into the Gemini API. So that's the setup for now. Let's go through some of the other request options here so you can recreate this yourself. The first one here, as like we do for any API, is the need to authenticate the API itself. So once again, we're going to go to a generic credential type. We're going to configure header auth because if you go to Google AI Studio or aistudio.google.com and you click on Get API Key, you're going to see this breakdown here that shows how to set up an authenticated API request into Google's APIs. So if you look at this header for authentication that has the Gemini API key, this is going to be the value we need to copy and set up. And so we'll copy this here, x-goog.-api-key. That's the value we want for the name of the header. And finally, after we have header set here, we can create a new credential, call it Google Gemini API. Paste this value in as the name, the x-goog-api-key. And then if you create an API key and go through the setup process, you'll be able to paste that value inside here, and that is going to be all you need for authenticating into Google Gemini's API. So that's the first step for any request. The last thing we need to do is look at the JSON that we're passing in order to make this analysis call to the Gemini API. So let's come back here to the video understanding documentation. I'll go again to pass video data in line, and we're going to grab what's happening after this -d tab, as that's going to be the body data we're passing through into this HTTP request. So we can go ahead, grab this, and I'll paste it below here so you can see what that looks like. So the first thing we have to do here is sub out this template that Google Gemini's docs have provided with real data coming in. This is like a function that they've defined, but we need to really pass in our own data that is going to be from the video that we scraped before. And so we do this by looking at the output of the previous node, the Instagram reel to base 64. We can drag that in under this data field, and that is going to be set and dynamically passed in for any video analysis request that we need to make. The next part of this too is going to be the text value we need to sub in. And so if I remove this example they've provided, we can go ahead and look at the build final Instagram reel prompt, grab that prompt value, set it here, and then we're going to get exactly what we need passed into this text. If you look at my example here above, I'm also using this json.stringify option. That's something that will normalize out any special characters like new lines, dashes, or backticks that are part of this prompt, and will just help prevent errors. So I recommend just, instead of needing to go through that, download the template I built out and then just copy what I have here. That way you won't have to deal with any errors that come up while you're going through this video analysis. And that's the last part. That's all we need to finish up making our request into the Gemini API. So we make that request, get our output back, as we can see here on the right-hand side, underneath this candidates content parts area. That is going to be the resulting prompt that we asked for coming back from the Google Gemini API. So I have the set field node here that's just going to grab that value, and we can see the final prompt that gets built out here that is describing exactly what happened in that scene for the Instagram reel that we pasted in. So this looks great. That's the generative manifest according to all of the prompting that we did before, ran through the Google Gemini's API, and built out as a result. The final thing that happens once it is done, just for making this a little bit easier to use, is we're going to take that text, write it to a text file using this convert to file node, where we convert it to a text file. We're going to then use these two nodes where we upload that file into Slack and then share that as a message here so we can easily see what the full prompt looks like after the whole system has ran through. And so we see AI video generator prompt with that file link included. And then once we're in Slack, we can click on edit here, go ahead and copy this entire prompt and paste that into whatever AI video generator we're trying to use, like Google's VO3, CDance, or some other AI video generator. That covers it here for this technical walkthrough.
All right, before you go, make sure to hit the like and subscribe button. Seriously, do it, because we're gonna be breaking down all of the AI automations that we use to run all of our businesses. They're super helpful, and we're gonna break down exactly how we do them on this YouTube channel. So make sure to like and then subscribe, and then you'll get notified when we publish new workflows that can make your businesses run 20 times more efficiently, just like we're seeing here at the recap and the other businesses that we're running. The other item is join our school community for free. The link's in the description. You'll be able to get this template, this automation that we just ran through in this video, completely for free. You can go to school and navigate to the video that you want, and then you can download the JSON output for the n8n automation. With that, you can upload it into your n8n, clone it, and then tune it for your business and your use cases. So like and subscribe, join our free community to get this automation for yourself, and we'll see you in the next video.